Davis, and this is Cheree Davis, my wife. And we came to Prineville back in 2017. It all started, our journey here started probably May of 2016 when I was struggling with what does it mean to depend on God for my daily bread. As here in Matthew it talks about, in the Lord's Prayer, about give us this day our daily bread. And we've been in camping for over 30 years and I've never wondered where my next meal is going to come from. And I was just feeling convicted on that. And then in August of 16, our house, while we were sleeping in it, one night, what day was that? Do you remember?
August 24th.
August 24th.
The night.
In the middle of the night, Cassie came and woke us up after our dog had woke her up, and the attic was in full flame and it was creeping down the walls. And so by the time we were woken up, the house was pretty much engulfed. And it was crazy. I mean, just getting the fire department there and just the whole thing, the whole house was a total loss.
So I wrote this about 2 weeks after the fire, and this kind of shows a promise that God gave us that we were waiting for. The day after the fire, a friend from church brought over a few items, among them a Bible. It happened to be a daily walk Bible. And since I was at a loss of where to go in God's Word under the circumstances, I went to August 24th, the date of the fire. The reading for that day was in Ezekiel. Great, a book about judgment and the fall of Jerusalem. Not sure how this is going to go. But the selection began in the second half of chapter 36, where God is proclaiming the future restoration of Israel. There's so much there that shows God's heart for his people. And as I read, I was stopped short by verse 36, Ezekiel 36, verse 36. Then the surrounding nations that survive will know that I, the Lord, have rebuilt the ruins and replanted the wasteland. For I, the Lord, have spoken, and I will do what I say. Could I be reading something into this, or did God have a message for me, I wondered. Some of you have heard that we did not have insurance on the house, and that is true. A lapse in billing, a decision we made, and we're left with a mortgage to pay on a house that isn't there. Where do we go from here? If we had insurance, we could rebuild. We still would have lost so much that is irreplaceable, but we would have the money to have someone clean up the ashes and build us a new house. But we don't have that ability. Notice that in Ezekiel 36:36, God said, I have rebuilt the ruins. If there is to be rebuilding, it will be God doing it, not us. And it is clear in that passage, earlier in the passage, that God promised to rebuild the ruins, not because the people deserve it, but so that everyone will know that he is the Lord. That has become our rallying point, that people will see the power of the Lord through this. We don't know the plan yet, but we're trusting God to show us. So we feel like that's the promise that God gave us, that he was going to rebuild what was destroyed for his glory. And of course, at the time, we were just thinking our house. Didn't know how that was going to happen. So we lived in limbo for quite a while. We lived for 2 months in a house that the camp allowed us to be in, and then we moved into a friend's bedroom. She just had one spare bedroom open, and we were just living in limbo and waiting on what God wanted us to do. And the answer was bigger than we imagined.
Oh, it's incredible. A friend of mine had acquired a piece of property up here, a land and cattle guy. In April, he asked, can you come up and look at this property? We're looking at starting a camp up here. But I thought, I'll go up and look at the camp as a consultant. And they said they'd fly me back and forth. And so we came up, looked at the camp. And as we're working on this and seeing how big of a project it is, my consulting turned into a more on-site, hands-on, getting the camp up and going.
We've never had to struggle with where our daily bread came from. And the morning after the fire, all of a sudden, we didn't not only have a pantry or food, we didn't have a toothbrush or a change of clothes or anything. or tools. But God showed us his sufficiency. He showed us that he will provide where our daily bread comes from. And there's so many stories there. But he provided for us in a way that was beyond what we can imagine. And we feel like we traded our perceived self-sufficiency in for an exciting, humble dependence on God. And we're all dependent on God every day, but we don't always realize it. And I feel like the fire, the experience, gave us the ability to see God's provision and to know he can provide when we have no clue how this is going to work. And that has changed the way we look at life and the way, you know, I don't know that had this not happened, we would have been emotionally, spiritually ready to come do this, to start an organization with no budget, no income, no overseeing, you know, body. But God showed us that all we got to do, like John said, is step forward day by day, and he provides in ways we can't even contrive or imagine. And that's really changed our whole outlook on life, and it's a blessing.